Hiya guys, David Roscio here from KPM Motorsport, featuring our StreetFighter products once again. Today we've got an FG Falcon, an FG GT, beautiful GT, absolutely standard, bar the air filter I believe. So we want to do a bit of testing today, and we're going to concentrate mainly on the intercooling side of it, or should I say on a standard vehicle, the non-intercooling side of it. So what we're going to do, just to give you a bit of a demonstration, we're going to show on a standard vehicle while it's on the dyno what sort of effects intercooling or non-intercooling does have on the engine. So what we'll do, we'll set up this car, we've set it up to run for about 15 minutes just to do an air intake test. And what that'll do, that'll measure the intake air going into the engine. And that intake air is what creates or doesn't create power. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure the air intake temperature, and that's going to be measured in the manifold there, and that's what's going into your engine. So the air intake temperature is a very important factor for making power, for fuel economy, for reliability of the engine. So let's not forget, Ford made these vehicles non-intercooled, so we'll run the car, we'll see what it does in the intakes, and let's see what sort of temperatures we get on a non-intercooled standard vehicle. Okay, so after about a few minutes of warm up, we're just going to stabilise the car, and what you can see, we've got a 52-degree intake temperature. Now that's on the pink gauge there, so that's the air that's going into the engine. At the moment, after a few minutes of just stabilising, we're at about 52 degrees Celsius. Let's see what it does after about 7 to 10 minutes of running. Okay, we've come back at the, I think it's about the 8-minute mark now. Have a look at the pink gauge. Okay, that's intake air temp, as you can see there. And you see it's increased by about 20 degrees, so we're 8 minutes in. We'll give the car about another 7 minutes, that'll make a total of 15, and see what those intake temps get to. Okay, now we've got a bit over, we've gone 17 minutes total run here, so that's now intake temps up to 80 degrees. That's really getting quite hot in there. We're going to stop the testing there, and we'll just have a bit of a talk about what's going on. Alrighty, so we've done our 15 to 7, I think it was 17 minutes of spirited dyno work, some power runs, a really strong drive. As if you're out in the road or out in the track. Now we have, as you know, we've on the pink gauge here, we've reached a temperature of 80 degrees Celsius on the intake of the engine. That's starting to creep up there to a reasonably high level, something that we really don't want to see or get to too often. Okay, so what do we do about it? Well, Ford did a great job getting this engine running with those air intake temps at the power it does, but we can go a step further and we can try to cool that air going into the engine. And what we're going to show you today is our StreetFighter intercooler, and we're going to run through those same tests with our StreetFighter intercooler. So stick around, you'll see a bit of the fitment side of it, and then we'll get it back on the dyno. We'll do those 3 tests again. We'll run it for exactly the same time. It was about 15 minutes. Today our ambient temp was very cool as well. We had about a 15, 16 degree ambient temp day. So you can imagine what these 80 degree engine temperatures, intake temperatures, would have been on a 40 degree Australian hot summer day. So let's try that again with intercooling and see how we go. Okay, so as you can see, there is something under the manifold lid there. It looks like an intercooler, and I believe Ford were going to use it as an intercooler, but it's actually not working as an intercooler. Now there is no end tanks on there, but it's actually the construction of it, the core thickness and the way it diverts the air is actually a part intercooler that we're sure Ford were going to use, and it was designed to have some end tanks there. So I'll remove the core, and you can see what I mean. It's actually got the cooling fins, it's got the bars going through it, but there's no end tanks to hold the coolant. So what it does do is actually diverts the air from the, I'll put this down, it's getting a little bit heavy. It diverts the air from the supercharger itself, goes through the center and back down into the manifolds. Okay, so you can see there's no ends on that to hold the coolant in. There's no coolant connected to that. So, you know, it's acting as an air diverter rather than an intercooler. Another point I want to make while we've got this standard air diverter out is the amount of oil that is caught underneath there. You can see all the brownish areas, and you see my hands, quite a bit of residual oil there. Now that's a lot of blow-by in the engine. It's very, very normal, quite normal on the 5 litre K80 engine, but there is a bit of blow-by, and that just starts to cake up around the fins of the core here, the air diverter. And when we do put an intercooler into this one, it'll do the same thing. It'll start to cake up on the fins of the intercooler. Okay, so this gives you a good understanding of the supercharger. There's the pulley there, but you can see the supercharger lobes in the middle there. That's where the compressed hot air comes out, gets diverted from the diverter you just saw. And just again wanting to point out that little bit of oil that these engines do blow by. A good idea to be able to slow that down, and once we put this back together, I'll be able to show you our StreetFighter oil separators that help keep that a lot cleaner, especially with the new intercooler in there. Alrighty, so now we've removed the standard air diverter. We're ready to fit our StreetFighter intercooler. What we've got here is this is the top mounted intercooler. It'll go into the same spot where the air diverter went. Now this is the largest water to air intercooler on the market, we believe. It's a 5 litre system. It's a triple bypass system, meaning water goes through this core 3 times. So it allows the air to get cooled for a longer period of time, meaning it'll go through 3 times, and it'll give us the best cooling that we can optimize from this system. We have a riser plate. You'll see how that gets fitted in a second with the riser plate in situ. So that's a 5 litre water to air intercooler. We've got a nice silicone gasket that goes underneath it. That'll seal any boost coming from the supercharger from under the intercooler. So you can run very high boost. So that's a high boost bottom gasket on that. And that'll be fitted first, the intercooler on top, and then it'll all go back together. Okay guys, we're back in the dyno room. The intercooler's been fitted, so you saw how that was fitted on the intake manifold there. That's all nice and fitted. You saw how the front heat exchanger or intercooler has been fitted up through underneath the bumper bar. That's all been fitted, plumbed up to an electric water pump. Now we're going to do exactly the same testing that we did, well, 2 days ago now. The ambient temp's great, it's about the same, 15 to 16 degrees. We're just going to warm up the car on the dyno, and let's have a starting point, then we're going to run it for 15 minutes. So here we go. As you can see, after a little bit of a warm-up, the actual intake air temperatures are 29 degrees. Now, remember from our last warm-up when we first started, which was 52 degrees, so that's quite a bit less already. Now we're going to run it for 15 to 17 minutes, and we'll see what happens after some spirited driving on the dyno and again some power runs. Okay, you can see now after 17 minutes on the dyno, we've got an intake air temperature of 43 degrees. Now, if we remember, without intercooling, that was up to 72, I believe. So that is a massive difference with the StreetFighter intercooling. Okay, well that was a really good test. Apples for apples, very, very similar ambient temps on the day, about 16 degrees. Different day, but similar dry 16-degree day. Just to recap, no intercooling. We achieved about 72 degrees on about 17 minutes of spirited driving. Still reasonably acceptable, but starting to get quite hot, and you can imagine a 40-degree day, what that intake temp would have got to. And then after we intercooled with the StreetFighter intercooler, same sort of testing, about 17 minutes spirited driving, dyno runs on the dyno, 43 degrees intake temperature, phenomenal. That's a good, with my bad maths, 29 degrees difference with intercooling. Again, this is when it comes to the fore on a 40-degree hot Australian day, that intercooling becomes vital. What we're going to do now, you can see the improvements with the intercooling. We actually now have the ability to run more boost. The reason being, when we run more boost, the air temperatures get hotter. So without intercooling, we would have increased those air temperatures even hotter again. But with intercooling, we've got a lot to play with now. We've got some really nice cool intake temps, so we can really start to boost up more into that engine, and we can start to make more power with that intercooler. So let's fit some smaller pulleys. We'll also fit our StreetFighter twin air intake. Let's get some more air in. Let's boost it up a bit more, and we'll retest those intercooler temperatures, and let's have a look at the final output on the power figures. Okay, so not only are we or have we fitted the StreetFighter intercooler to this car, and you can see the advantages that brings. Our customers also asked us to fit some multiple products that we make in-house at StreetFighter, and I'll just quickly go through the products. We'll do a power run and we can see what sort of upgrades and power we get from them. Okay, we'll probably start with the air intake side of things. I've got all that on this side. The Falcon comes out with the single throttle body, the single snout throttle body. StreetFighter have a replacement dual throttle body. This is a Ford product. It's a 60mm. You see it's dual intakes on the throttle body, dual butterflies. But to be able to fit that onto the vehicle, we have to manufacture a ducting. So you can see that the throttle body, I'll just put that up. The throttle body needs to be able to bolt onto the ducting, so we can't just use the standard single ducting on the vehicle. So that's a StreetFighter ducting. We utilise a Ford twin 60mm throttle body. This particular vehicle has got a Ford Racing 65mm, so either one will fit to our throttle body. Then That also needs to be finished off with some ducting to the air intake. So we manufacture in-house a rubber ducting that fits neatly. That'll finish off the intake going to the standard airbox. And then part of this, we've got the StreetFighter lifetime performance filter, high airflow, washable lifetime filter. It's got the dual cone, meaning it's got the extra surface area to take air from not only the outside surface area, but the intake surface area. So as a package, you can see that we've upgraded the intake. On the other side, we've got some more products here. This is probably the one that will make the most power on this vehicle. We've upgraded the standard snout, which has got a 75mm pulley. And we've had to replace the complete snout to be able to replace it with a 60mm pulley. Now this 60mm pulley will spin that supercharger a lot quicker, make more boost, therefore make great gains in power. So that's probably one of the big products that will create that extra power. So extra air in, more boost created from the pulley, with from the snout with a 60mm pulley, remember, down from 75 from standard, down to 60. That comes with the belt, everything you need. As an option, we do also have the 58mm pulley, more for race applications, even more boost again. Pretty much runs that standard supercharger at its maximum level of capacity and efficiency. So that 58mm pulley as an optional pulley for probably more race applications if you really want to get into your drag racing. Okay, so more air in, more boost. We need more fuel. So StreetFighter have developed 3 levels of fuel system. The fuel system we're using on this vehicle is our 1000 horsepower direct fit in-tank fuel module. This will supply enough fuel for this vehicle at 1000 horsepower at the engine on petrol. It's a twin in-tank pump. It's a direct fit, so there's nothing to do. Remove your standard module, in goes our StreetFighter 1000 horsepower module. Remember, we have 3 different levels. We've got a smaller one, which is a 700 horsepower, and we've actually got a bigger one for the big guns, which is a 1500 horsepower, all the same design, direct fit. And also to keep that fuel clean, lifetime fuel filter. Now this is 100% ethanol, petrol, methanol compatible. It's a direct replacement to your standard fuel filter. It's fully cleanable. You remove the filter, wash it out, put it back in, and refit it, and away you go. So that's high flow. It flows enough for 1500 horsepower or a standard vehicle. So that's a direct fit. Take your stand one out, fit our StreetFighter lifetime fuel filter. And of course, we mentioned before the oiling inside the manifold from these engines. They do tend to breathe a bit of oil. So a really good idea, even in a standard format, to keep that manifold clean so you don't get caking on the back of the valves, oil down the manifold runners. Just over a long time, you start baking oil on everywhere. Keep it a bit cleaner with some oil breathers, oil separators. These will go one on each bank of the engine, StreetFighter oil separators. They will actually catch all the oil in the air, trap it in the can, and when the engine's turned off, slowly drain it back down to the engine. Therefore, your manifold remains clean. Now, especially when you've got intercooling, it keeps your intercooler clean of oil, residual oil. That means it's got more surface to area contact. It's not an oily intercooler. It'll act more efficiently. Now these breathers, again, they're 100% cleanable. We pull them apart. We've got a special brass sintered filter in there that catches the oil. That's cleanable. Whack it back in, new set of seals. Seals are all available from KPM. Clip them back on. So that's our StreetFighter oil breathers or oil separators. So what I want to do now, this car's got all these extra products. Remember, a lot of boost being made from this front snout. More air being taken in from our twin throttle body. More fuel needing to be delivered to support the power. What you can't see on the car is our StreetFighter full exhaust system, headers, high flow cats, full stainless steel exhaust system. We're going to put all this together, do a power run, show you a standard run, and then show you a final run with all these products. Okay, so there you have it. So this screen here will show you our initial run, power run we call it, when the car was completely standard exhaust, no intercooling, no boost pulley, no fuel system. As it came in, factory standard, and you can see it made really good power actually, 314.8 kilowatt. Now that's at the wheels. So that's at the rear wheels on our dyno, and it made 314.8 kilowatt at about, well, what's that, about 8 pounder boost. So what we'll do now, we'll run the vehicle with the full upgrade, all the products on it, and let's have a look at it and see what happens. Wow, what a difference. You can see there now, we've increased it to 476.2 kilowatt. That's an amazing increase. That's 161 kilowatts increase at the rear wheels. So that's quite outstanding. Obviously, that comes from all the products, but especially the intake being the extra air going in through the throttle. The boost level now is at 13 pound with our StreetFighter pulley system, and making power, releasing it all through our StreetFighter exhaust, up to 560 rear wheel kilowatts. So fantastic. Now that's all intercooled properly, so you can only do this sort of power with this sort of boost with an intercooler. You can't try to do this standard, it'll heat that air up too much. So that's the importance of the intercooling, brings it all together, allows you to make this sort of power. Fantastic. So there you have it, folks. Beautiful example of an FG Falcon. All our StreetFighter products fitted to this. Those products are the same for the FG to FGX range. So if you're looking for something for your FG to FGX, check us out. StreetFighter is available around Australia. We have dedicated workshops in every capital city. Check out our website, www.streetfighter.net. We can upgrade your FG to FGX with any one or all of these products as you've seen. Love to hear from you, and we'll catch you next time.